Welcome back. The Prime Minister has ordered politicians to come back from their summer break early in order to pass new gun and hate speech reforms in the wake of the Bondi massacre. If passed, the laws would make it illegal to publicly promote or incite racial hatred, but there is some concern this morning about a proposed legal defence in the bill which says the law doesn't apply if someone is directly quoting from a religious text. For their take, let's bring in Logan City Mayor John Raven and the founding director of Western Sydney Women, Amanda Rose. Welcome to you both. John, what do you think from this? Should views be exempt if they're quoted from religious texts?
Well, in Australia, we value religious freedom, which means it is appropriate to have some protections of religious texts, but it's a very narrow carve-out. When you look at what the bill is proposing, it's saying that it's direct quotes or references to religious texts for the purposes of teaching or discussion. And so if anyone's trying to use this exemption to somehow find a loophole and get out there and spread hate, I think it's not going to work very effectively. And really, this is legislation that's targeting the 1%, even the 0.1% of people who have hateful thoughts and want to spread them. I think it's appropriate that we crack down on this in the wake of Bondi, and it's so important that the Prime Minister is actually getting on and doing something, because we don't want to see 18 months of debate on this. The Australian people expect the government to take action, and I think we'd all love to see all sides of politics put aside their guns to sit down, pun intended, to sit down and work together on this so that we can get a better outcome for the community.
I think that that's what everybody wants, except for maybe the politicians. What do you think will happen next week? With Parliament will resume early, and the Prime Minister said that he was likely to do that when he said that he was tackling this. Do you think politics can be put aside?
Well, I think there needs to be more time for community consultation and discussion. Anything rushed, to me, is a red flag. When something's rushed, I'm thinking, what is it that they don't want people to investigate? And I think they should split the bill and have guns separate to the hate speech.
So that's something that the opposition leader, Susan Lee, thinks too. Why do you think that they should be separated?
Well, they're two separate issues, and we really need to spend the time on each one. For example, with hate speech, right? What do they call hate speech? For example, in 20 years from now, and the Anglican Church mentioned this, which was a really important point, if social policy changes and, and what people want, don't like and so forth, then does that mean that the Anglican Church and what they teach will be considered hate in 20 years from now? So a particular religious group is going to be targeted saying, well, we call that hate speech. Who decides that? Is it a minister? Is it the community? So I think it's a very dangerous piece of legislation that needs time for all groups to be represented.
Quickly before we move on, is it possible that you just cannot please everyone?
Well, I actually don't think we should legislate hate speech at all. I think you can have hateful people in society. I get hated on all the time. I get death threats. I get attacked all the time. So the reality is...
But should that be okay?
Well, the reality is if the government's going to crack down on every single death threat, right, on social media, it's going to be a full-time job for the entire parliament. This is a very, very specific piece of legislation. So they're saying this particular group's going to be protected from hate speech. If you're going to protect people from hate, everyone needs to be protected from hate, every religious group.
OK, moving on now. And federal MP Rebecca White and two of her Tasmanian Labor colleagues have been forced to apologise after they were overheard playing a game of shoot, shag or marry at a festival in Hobart. A Liberal Party member had been in earshot of the trio where the three women discussed the desirability of various Liberal MPs. OK, John, what do you think of this?
So when you get elected, you give up a few privileges, and privacy is one of those. I used to sit in the front row at the footy, and I would tell umpires exactly what I thought about their performance. And a mate of mine said, hey, you want to be mayor one day? Do you think there's no one from Logan sitting behind you that can hear the things that you're saying? And I thought they would probably agree with me, to be fair. But when you become elected, when you become a public figure, and I'm sure Amanda has experienced this as well, any comment that you make, you should assume that you're either being recorded or that someone's listening and behave accordingly. If you want to make those comments, if you want to play that game, by all means do it, but do it in your own home, do it somewhere private so that no one's listening, and then you can play as many silly games as you like.
You're assuming no one's listening at home, buddy.
Amanda?
Well, look, what concerns me is that when you're in a position, a leadership position, you need to lead by example. So there are things that you need to grow up, essentially. So don't act that way. That is something you play in high school. That is not something that we want an elected official playing. But
plenty
also,
of adults that still play
but on the flip side as well, if you're in opposition, don't use this as a weapon. If you see someone doing that, maybe walk up, be a leader yourself and say, hey, cut the crap. don't speak like that, grow up and
Instead
walk away.
Instead of trying to politicise
it.
Yep, okay.
Could you imagine if blokes played that, though? There would be a whole different conversation.
It would be a very different conversation if we were talking about male politicians. I agree with you. Now, finally, a supermarket debate has erupted over whether it's okay to dump an item that you no longer want in the wrong aisle instead of returning it to its rightful place. Now, it's all been sparked by this heinous act. Someone bothered snapping a picture of a cold birthday cake being left with the pasta at Coles. John.
Very serious business. No, it's not okay. So I take my trolley back, and I'm probably a little bit weird because I know all the names of the staff in my local Coles. I would feel so bad if whether it was a cold item or something else, if they saw me dumping something that I picked up, I would feel awful. So I would take it back, but I'm also a very efficient shopper. So I have a list, I check it twice, I have a strategic way I move through the aisles. And so I make sure that I only get what I need, and the thing that messes with me the most is when they change the aisles around. That completely ruins my week.
Yeah, but I'm feeling hugely inadequate. Like, you don't ever get there and go, I don't think I need 2 cakes.
I want to know what happened in the past aisle for this person to go, I no longer want this cake, I want pasta instead. Right, because some decision was made, but if it's cold, if it's something like that, what you're doing is you're depriving someone else. I think it's just disrespectful. Put it back in its place. You get your extra steps up, for goodness sake, which you probably need anyway if you're buying pasta or cake.
I've dumped something before and then felt bad about it and turned around to the next aisle and gone back and done it.
Good girl.
All right, well, you're both much better people than I. Anyway, thank you, John. Thanks, Amanda. Here's David.